One day, as the governor was handing out sandwiches to stray dogs, a cunning advisor riding with him said, "Sir, without you, these poor creatures would starve. You are their savior. Without your kindness, they'd have no hope." Governor Hart smiled faintly at the flattery. But nearby, an old wise pastor, Reverend Elijah, suddenly chuckled. Surprised, the governor asked, "Pastor, why do you laugh?" The Reverend replied warmly, "Forgive me, Governor, but your advisor's words made me smile. Truth is, it's not you who feed them, but the Almighty. We're just instruments in His hands. The real giver is above us, and we give it should be with love, not pride. Love is the language every soul understands." Though Governor Hart said nothing, the Reverend's words lingered in his heart. Was his kindness really just pride in disguise? Wounded by doubt, the governor made a bold decision. The next morning, he loaded his SUV with food, but gave nothing to anyone. Not a bite to the strays, not a meal to the homeless. The dogs followed him, eyes filled with hope, but he ignored them. Days passed. The lively dogs grew frail. Streets once filled with smiles became eerily silent. Hunger whispered through the town. One morning, the governor spotted Reverend Elijah again and pulled over. With pride, he said, "See, I haven't fed them in days. Look how weak they are. Doesn't this prove I was their provider, not your so-called Almighty?" The Reverend smiled gently. "Governor, have you noticed they still survive?" The governor scoffed. "Survive? They're barely hanging on." The Reverend nodded. Even suffering is written in His plan. Real kindness isn't about proving ourselves. It's about giving, without expecting anything in return. The governor's fists clenched. He would prove the Reverend wrong. The next morning, he once again set out with food. But fate had different plans. Halfway down a quiet street, the wheel of his SUV broke. The vehicle spun and crashed into a fence. The governor hit the ground, bruised and in pain. His food basket spilled. In agony, he looked up and saw the stray dogs rushing toward him. Fear froze him. Would they attack? But instead, they gathered around him, whining softly, licking his wounds, guarding him. Not one touched the food. Just then, Reverend Elijah arrived. He looked at the scene and said, "Oh, Governor, even in hunger, they chose love over food. They don't care for you because you feed them. They care because they feel your presence, your spirit. Today, your wealth, your power, and your pride failed you. But the love you once gave without realizing returned to protect you." Tears filled Governor Hart's eyes. He finally understood. He had given to feel superior, not to serve. But true kindness was never about ego. It was about compassion. That day, he bowed before the Reverend and whispered, "From today, I give not with pride, but with love." From that day forward, Governor Hart changed. He gave without seeking praise, served without expecting thanks, and his town blossomed. With love, with trust, and with unity. Inspirational Hub, we believe. True kindness is not about power or pride. It's about love. What you give with love will always return to you in ways you never imagined.